Yeah, that's quite true. I've heard many stories from many about that. Interestingly, I I don't know if I'm lucky or what's not. I haven't really have much difficulty in that realm because like even on LinkedIn back in days when I used to apply for jobs I tend to get a nice a relatively fast response and go through like interview process what's not so like when back then when for me when I apply for jobs I would apply like 5 jobs instead of like a lot. And most times, if yeah, most times, if not all of the jobs that I applied for, I get back a response. Um, so I'm just going to put this there. I think part of the reason why at least LinkedIn worked for me um, my LinkedIn page is relatively very active based on the like my tech interests and of course projects and things that I've worked on. So I think generally because my LinkedIn is used to help market what I really do, the impact I made and so forth. I think that helps the recruiters to understand who I am, passion, skill set, and so forth. So it was like a easy, oh, this guy seems like very skilled. Let's reach out to him and let's see what happen. So that's my experience, but I know that a lot of other people um have a different type of experience.
All right, it sounds like we've got one really lucky person here so far. What about the rest of you? Have you had, great experience just throwing one application out there or a few and getting through? I think Jason mentioned that he had about 200 applications. Is that right, Jason?
Yes, that's right. And only got one response.
Why do you think you had such a hard time?
I wonder. I really do. I'm not really sure. That's the thing.
Hmm. Do you have a degree?
No.
That could be it, I've heard that corporate Jamaica, especially not having a degree is kind of frowned upon in a sense, So those like just a prerequisite of them even looking at you is, you having that degree. So I think that could be it.
Could be.
Yeah. All right. Is there anybody else who'd like to, tell us about their experience?
Well, in my case, I was trying to get a job in Australia. Um, but all the applications that I did was around informal jobs like uh, bartender, different stuff that I'm used to. I'm a software developer, but it was pretty difficult to get a job in tech industry in Australia because I was a student. I was a student. Uh, that was the main reason I think. Even though I was sending resumes for different applications, I I think I got hired after maybe 70 resumes I sent already. I sent around 70 resumes and I got one interview. And after that interview, I get hired. I hope it was uh, pretty tough time. Yeah.
Wow. I'm feeling kind of sad, like this cat we have up on screen. You know, I think you brought up something interesting. Like, is it like what's the experience like working for a company overseas? Is there anybody in here that has worked for an overseas company before that would like to share?
Um, yeah. So I have worked for couple overseas company. Um, in a certain sense, they're similar somewhat similar to Jamaican companies in the sense that um they want results, a lot of and quality work. And it's a bit fast paced where there's a there's an expectation where they hire you as a web dev, and then you end up doing desktop application stuff, pretty much a full stack as well as a system um developer. Um, the thing I can say, they pay well, and pay relatively on time. um they tend to have a lot of meetings, short to lengthy meetings, but the working environment tend to be a bit relaxed at the same time, meaning that, like, a part of like my experience why I guess I get success for LinkedIn. I was a Google Summer of Code student. So I contributed to Prune open source software, and of course get got paid through Google, and of course that's on my LinkedIn profile. Like, they're pretty much, like, even like for private companies, they're pretty much trying to give you as much knowledge as possible, and like things that you really need to do your job well. Um, and trying to remove as much friction because they care about knowing that you have the right things into place to actually produce, instead of you struggling trying to figure out what is this, that, and so forth. So that's my experience in the past. Of course, now there's a slightly different experience. I don't know because of what happened during COVID, but yeah, the it's generally a cool environment and get paid a decent salary, I guess.
All right, that sounds interesting. Somebody had actually asked, like, how did you get this overseas job? Because one of the things that everybody kind of likes is that you work in one country, but you're getting paid in USD, so you can live lavishly, have some fast cars and a couple of houses on the beach side. So you said LinkedIn is what helped you to get that job. What about anybody else? Has anybody else had experience, working for overseas companies?
Um, yeah, in I was living in Australia, and the hiring process was different from here, from Colombia, where I'm living now in this moment. The thing is, like, in Colombia, you just send your resume and got an interview. That's it. Like, 2 or 3 questions, and it's pretty straightforward compared to Australia, in where you have to send, like, a cover letter, your resume. The interview process is like the technical process, and there's the interview. It's like a ritual, sort of a way, like, it's it's a very long process, and yeah, I wasn't used to it, so I had to learn a bit how to get a job. Um, yeah, but I didn't get a job in a professional way, in a professional area, which is harder. But yeah, mostly that. That's my experience around that.
I think you said something important, Nicole. I think somebody mentioned this to me before that they have to do several interviews and tests, and just listening to the person sounded like so exhausting. So I think like for those of you who have gotten to work overseas, could you tell me like, did you have to do like 12 or 13 interviews and tests like I've been hearing about?
Yeah, absolutely. It was heaps. It was a lot of interviews. Um, I I just yeah, it was difficult. For me to my first job was because I had a friend who was working in a kitchen. There was like my starting point of a job in Australia, but yeah, I mean, the interview process and all of that is very difficult. It's very demanding. It's exhausting, as you say.
Yeah, I concur on that. The interview process, well, not for all, but for some was very demanding. The what I can say is that if you're going for like a large, medium to large companies overseas, yeah, they have their interview process as like as tedious as it can be to filter out like prospective um you know employees that might not do a good job or fit well in their organization. um so those are very like tedious, but small overseas as well as medium. But once you go medium to large, yeah, the interview process will be very tedious.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh, hmm. Was somebody speaking? Oh, just so you guys know, it's an open mic session, so you can, yeah, so as I was saying before, the process of getting the job overseas sounds very stressful to say the least. I don't know, is it worth it? Well, based on the salary getting paid, I'd say maybe it is worth it, right? So we've gone through 2 points so far. I think I'd ask, where do you usually look for jobs and how many interviews you had to do. So next up is how to get a job in this econ. We're gonna refocus on the main topic, right? So let me tell you how I would go about it, right? Despite all the news about layoffs, issues here and there, I still think there's a lot of opportunity, right? Because I still see places hiring. I see places hiring, and I see certain new industries. What do I call new industries? I see certain roles in particular that are popping up more than others. So one route you can take is that you can actually reskill yourself, right? Let's say I'm seeing a lot of cloud engineers now. If there are a bunch of cloud engineers, if there are a bunch of cloud engineer roles popping up, then definitely I could just get some certificates, go to some networking events where cloud engineers are, and just apply, apply. And one important thing I do as well is kind of restructure my resume so it's more appealing to the job seeker. So those of you on the call, remember you can unmute and let us know your thoughts. How do you go about like getting a job when it seems like the world is on fire?
Okay. I think one of the main things that I'd do, the first thing is that I'd create a strong digital footprint. For example, LinkedIn would be optimized, join a community also. And then after doing that, it would be networking. So I'd network with, let's say, high profile individuals who are in the tech space and create friendships, get acquainted with them. If they have a community also, I'll join the community, contribute to the community, and through that, I'll be building my network, which I can then use to pivot to getting a job, whether it be directly or indirectly. Directly being, let's say, asking the community or someone in community if they know of a role that's open, or indirectly, where someone from the community might reach out to me and offer me a role. But you can't go wrong with creating a strong digital footprint and actually giving back to the community.
I think those are some really good points. You said strong digital footprint, giving back to the community. Do you know anybody who this has worked for before?
Yes, I have a friend whose name is Kamisi Lawrence. He's a software engineer and he created a strong digital footprint. He hosted his website and he was quite active on LinkedIn for a time. And he joined the Google developers. It, there's a meeting that Google normally holds. You could join different groups. For example, I think he joined the one in the USA from Memphis. Yeah, he joined that community and he was networking quite a lot in the community until he was able to get a job. So that's how he got the role that he's at right now.
Yeah, it's Google Developers Group. They have a Memphis. Interestingly, there was a Google Developers Group launched in Jamaica as well, and that should have also helped people to find jobs overseas and so forth. Geraldine was the one who was leading that. That group is not necessarily active, but yeah, I do agree. Networking is very fundamental in, landing a job.
All right. So, when you guys say networking, you mean like links, right? So why can't I just get a job without links? Why is the world like this?
I mean, that's. I don't think we're saying that we can't or without links. It's just put you in a better position. So, for example, let's say you're applying to a company, but for some reason, like the CTO or the hiring manager and so forth. Of course, I'm not saying this is favoritism, nepotism, or anything of the sort, but it does give yourself a bit of boost because that person would already know who you are, your skill set, and you know that you would be a good fit or not. So just at times, knowledge of who the person is helps. But of course, if you don't have links applying to a job, will happen is that you go through the normal interview process or application process. And of course, one of the things that people kind of don't recommend, or a lot of sites don't recommend, is adding your profile, like a picture on your resume, because that could also create a bit of bias whether you get or don't get. So there's different, metrics or things to this madness of, landing a job. The do's and the don'ts.
All right. I think that's fair, Like, can I kind of view the job hunt like an intense game where you play your cards right, you can win. The next question I have here in the chat is, where do you usually network? Because people tell me, okay, go network and get these people, these important people in your space, and you get a job. But where can I actually go and network?
Okay, for networking, I would advise LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a professional social media or I should say social media for professionals. And it's one of the only places that you can go and actually reach out to DM a CEO of a company. There are few places that you can go and do that, and it will be appropriate. LinkedIn is one of the few places that actually allows it and where it's facilitated. So you can't go around networking on LinkedIn.
I'm really curious about that because I usually network in, like meetings here in my country, for example. There are, I don't know, like DevOps meetings or tech meetings. Uh, but how is the process in LinkedIn? I don't know how it works, to be honest. Like, do you chat with someone? Do you call someone, or how's the process of that?
Okay, for LinkedIn, the process is it's quite simple. For example, if you know of a CEO and you might have something common, you could just reach out to them directly. But something that I tend to do is, let's say that on LinkedIn, there's a feed. So you can see things that persons liked. And if something that I like is similar to something, I might start a conversation with within that post. And then from the conversation in the post, let's say someone and I we had a really good discussion on it, I'd reach out to them after via DM and say, hey, I liked what you were saying on this post. Uh, and we just start the conversation from there. Probably ask them what's your opinion on this, and then within the DM just start the conversation. And from there, normally you exchange phone numbers, then you call in, and you build a better rapport that way. But LinkedIn has led to a lot of relationships, professional relationships, I should say. A lot of the persons I know today I met through LinkedIn.
Yeah, I second that in terms of LinkedIn. I'm also going to add like for me what worked great apart from LinkedIn when it comes on to networking is just attending like tech meetups, participating hackathons. Sometimes hackathons is a really good way of landing a job because one of the purpose of hackathons is like companies are actually looking out for talents and if you can produce something in like a well thought out like a project and actually get it done to a certain point um you know those hiring managers or whoever sponsoring the event and so forth look out for those like aspiring developers and hire the others stuff is like any workshops or any like for example um what's that thing called again? It would be like just like open source code sprints. I've attended a open source code sprint in um Barcelona, Spain. And I ended up landing a remote job at the time from an Australian company that was at someone that was at the code
Wait,
sprint
can
for
you
them.
explain how you got that thing at in Barcelona?
So because of I did Google Summer of Code, I went to the Prune conference to give a talk in Barcelona, and right after like the conference, they tend to have like code sprint to build out whatever solution for that open source, and there was a company in Australia that that sponsors Prone because they use Prone for their a lot of their projects, and I was building out something like unique for like a membrane system, and because I was working on membranes, they needed someone who has knowledge of prune membrane to build out something for their company. So they had reached out to me on LinkedIn to find out if I'm still working on that type of project, and I said yes, and then we connected and end up doing a freelance gig with them. So that's another way of, landing, jobs. Just participate in hackathons or any code sprints.
Um, would you mind texting down in the chat, please, the name? Because I don't know how to write.
No problem. I will.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I'd
Thanks,
like to
Jason.
see this info too, because he said a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so we've clearly got some talented people on the call. I mean, Barcelona, Spain. Wow. All right, so Shane told us how he networks. I think, yeah, Jason told us how he networks with them. I guess I'll go next. So for me, I think a couple of years back, I actually did fix up my LinkedIn, right? And due to that, I did get some calls, which was really interesting. So fixing up your LinkedIn is one route. The other route is that you want to be active. You want to be, I think Jason mentioned it, commenting on these persons' posts, saying, hey, love this project. You need to be making posts yourself. Like some people do a 20-day code challenge or a 50-day code challenge, and they say, hey, okay, I'm gonna build this blog. Here's my first step with the blog where we got our front page and all, then I'm gonna add in articles, and then after adding articles, people can add a comment section, and you just show that from start to end. You're building it there live. Some persons will like it, some persons will, like repost it. And some CEO of some company might look at it and say, hey, wow, let me message this guy or call this guy and say, would you like to work for me? Right? So yeah, you can definitely be active online, build up your portfolio, and I do attend tech events. Like for instance, for those of you in Jamaica, our community does host a physical event. The next one is gonna be next week, Friday, where we're gonna come together. We're gonna network. We're gonna play a couple games. We're gonna have a great time. The last meetup, physical meetup, was pretty good. I mean, I got to see and interact with some, powerful developers, right? So yes, attending local physical events, fixing up my portfolio, and sometimes the value isn't in just going to tech events, and sometimes there are other events that are keeping that you can show up and you talk to the right person. You never know. Opportunities will show up there. All right, let me see now. We've gone over our network. We've gone over, interview and tests. We've also gone over where do you usually look for jobs. All right. The next thing that we should check is the portfolio, right? So actually wait, before I ask that, yeah. What's the type of portfolio that you would recommend if I really want to get that job? So it's open to everybody. You can tell me, what portfolio you think would really land me a good job.
Okay, to land a good job, I believe a project-based portfolio would get you that job. Project-based portfolio meaning your portfolio website and about section which tells you who you are, what you've accomplished, and then below that you have projects that you've worked on that persons can click on and see the work that you've created. And why I believe that this will get you a good job is because, let's say a recruiter is looking for a candidate, they can come to your website, read the necessary information about you, and then have actual examples of the work that you've done on the website. And I found that this way it leads to jobs more than, let's say, have a website that just talks about itself without projects. The projects really gives you the edge because it's easy to share with another developer what the person is working on and has worked on so that they can get a hint of their skill level and if they would be a right fit for the role.
Yeah, just kind of going off that. So to add, like GitHub has this thing where you can have essentially a README for your profile, for your GitHub profile. And so a lot of people really use that to to just basically format out a resume right there because that's what it's there for. So you send someone to your GitHub and the first thing they see is, oh, this is this person's profile highlight where they highlight their specialties and all of that. And then of course, you know that you go further into their GitHub and their projects are right there. So I think that this that bit of feature right there makes it a bit more advantageous for like the person who isn't a web developer and so wouldn't necessarily have the requisite skills to build out even or maybe even want to build out a simple website and host. So GitHub makes that really easy for them.
I mean, do recruiters actually still look at GitHub these days? Does a GitHub even really matter?
Well, actually, GitHub was one of the things that I put on my resume. So it's right there saying that, hey, I have some personal projects and this is where you can find them. But I did not use, I don't think GitHub had that feature at that particular time. But yeah, nowadays, I don't know. But I don't see why not. Once you have a link on your resume saying here, my works are over here, then whether it's a personal website or GitHub pages or just a GitHub profile, I don't see why they would have an issue. You're showcasing your projects. If you're a front end dev or a full stack dev, then yeah, it does matter in that you want to really put forward that, oh, I can make a website that looks like X and all of that. But if you're just doing like backend or so forth, then I don't see where it would really matter that much. How exactly you look. Just have your projects there and just make sure that your repositories are clean.
Yeah, I agree with Andrew. I think it does matter. I- the thing is, whatever that can give you a competitive edge in this job market, I'll say do it. And having Git or profile that is very active, showing that you're contributing, doing code and so forth, it is attractive. It's for example, you as a say for example someone coming out of university, they're coming out with no experience, like anything to show that oh they can code. Having started like contributing to open source before out of university or show that they're making changes to like certain project kind of help boost recruiters, at least tech recruiters confidence in that you that individual is knowledgeable and can code and think about problems to solve issues and come up with suitable solutions. So for me I think it really matters. It gives that competitive edge. Jason, if you're talking, I think you're muted.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. I think I've gotten some, yeah, I think I'd agree with what you both said regarding, project-based portfolio. All right. Um, just for those of you who joined late, we're actually debating, how to get tech jobs in this economy. So you can always open your mic and give us your thoughts. All right. So next up, we're gonna discuss blogging. Right. So I'll talk because I do some blogging myself. What some persons do and recommend is that I think there's a popular line. If you truly understand something as well as you think you do, then you should be able to teach it like teach it to a 5-year-old. You like five? Right? So if you think you have the writing skills, you should definitely think about tech blogging. So we do have a blogger. I see one a popular tech blogger on this call. I believe his name is Jason. If you go to Caribbean.dev, one sec. Let me see if I can bring it up here. You're gonna see many of the articles that he's written. So Jason, if you're hearing me, you could probably tell us about what's it been like for you as a tech blogger, as they say.
Well, if I had to put a word to it, it's been quite fulfilling because a lot of the articles that I've written help persons in real life. For example, I wrote an article about how to get Starlink in Jamaica, and the amount of persons who have reached out to me and gotten Starlink because of that article, it has been quite a few. So I'm seeing how the articles that I've written are helping to benefit persons in the real life. And then you have the more technical articles, such as how to do something in, let's say, React.js. And having written that article, other persons and students, especially the students, like to reach out to me. And, they follow the article, they have a question or two, we connect, and that helps to build a network as well, meeting all these other persons. It's a very fulfilling thing to write a tech blog, and it's more fulfilling when you actually see how it affects persons in real life. And it's something that I advise everyone to do because you can't go wrong with getting your name out there, especially when you're providing such good content.
All right, so you guys heard from the man himself. I went and I Googled how to get Starlink in Jamaica, and guess what? First one. Does anybody else here have experience with tech blogging? Or just, blogging in general? Now, sometimes I know you're all very skilled, very diverse in your skill sets. Hmm. I'll post the link to Jason's article in our chat. Seems there was a discussion here about it. All right, so me personally, I've done some amount of blogging myself, some tech, some non-tech, right? And yeah, people have reached out to me. People have told me thank you. It's a really interesting thing, being able to get your thoughts, put them in words, put them out on the internet, and just allow yourself to be judged by the public. It's like it's kind of a scary experience in a sense. Aside from blogging though, I do want to hear if anybody on the call has blogged before, or if you've done anything else in public that has benefited you in the job market. All right, no takers. Takers. Okay, I think we've gone through portfolios, we've gone through speaking at conferences. Well, I don't think the average person looking for a job would be at the status level to, be speaking at conferences. This Australian person sounds like he's big in industry, maybe that's why he can speak at conferences. So, get on TV. Hmm, get on TV. How do you propose one would get on TV though?
So here's the thing. I actually slightly disagree. Because here's the thing. We've seen many times, either locally in Jamaica or somewhere overseas, where like a single dev builds something and it's useful for its community, the country, whatsoever. And they're like, hey, let's do an interview, and they get on TV. So, for example, um, the ATM Finder app, D'Angelo went on TV for that. He built a simple mobile app, and he got a lot of attention. There are students who participate in IEEE thing end up getting recognition for it. When they came out of like high school, they were able to get some jobs. So sometimes it's just build things, put it out there in the world, and indicate that, hey, you built this, and you find people asking about it and so forth, especially things that are useful, and it solves someone's problem. So I think it's it's not as easy as we can say it, but I think there's a relatively easy route at the same time.
To kind of add to that, like I feel like so one of the things that I usually see pop up when it comes to the whole job thing and doing projects, particularly when it comes to doing projects, is people have no idea what to do. And usually I just say to them that, hey, all right, so just find something that interests you. But yes, sometimes that thing that interests you might not really interest others. So so there's also this thing where you want to find something that will I guess get you that meeting or whatever it may be, but then one, you have a blocker on generating ideas, or two, you have a blocker on generating ideas that you think others may be interested in. So I think that's something that I don't know. I don't really have any ideas on how to address that kind of thing, but it's that I think that's also a concern. So maybe just tell them to like open up ChatGPT or whatever and ask for some ideas or something like that, because it's good for generating ideas. Maybe that's a okay way to go. But yeah, that's one of the more prevalent issues that I see pop up.
All right. I think Andrew I think you both brought up something interesting, something that we should probably address. And it's getting in front of people and speaking or is putting yourself out there, and it's kind of scary. And yeah, a lot of people in tech, we're excuse me, we're usually stereotyped to be, introverts locked away in our rooms, in a hoodie, late at night, sun hot in the day, coding away in front of a computer. We don't really know how to interact with people like that. So you're gonna tell me, oh, I just need to go to a network, this big scary place with all these scary people, or oh, I just need to go and DM these people on LinkedIn, and I don't know if they might be upset at me, or I just need to go to somewhere and speak in front of people. Now this sounds really challenging for the average introvert. So how do you say, or how do we get over having that confidence to really just go out and do the thing?
Funny enough, I have a cousin. Before I started posting on the internet and so, I used to think about it, and I wasn't really for it. I didn't like the idea of posting on the internet, etc. And my cousin said, posting on the internet might be scary, but going hungry is scarier. And after that, I started posting. Yeah. At the end of the day, for some things, you have to do what you have to do.
All right, that's one person. What about the rest of you? How did you build up the confidence to really like get in front of people or get out on the internet?
Um, for me, I'm not the best public speaker and in a certain sense I'm a introvert, but um the thing with me, I build up confidence to do things even when I don't want to, because I have like a sense of it needs to get done. So I put certain things above like whatever insecurity I'm feeling, because I know that it's kind of like meant to be, or it's good for me or others. So I kind of let my, I guess, passion to help others and as well as just being there for others drive me to do the things I do, which also involve me going out in the public and say, hey, if you're looking for a particular solution or having an issue with this, this is how you can solve it. So that's how I think I build up my courage to just go out.
For me, it's more like I think I probably still have this issue to an extent, but getting over it to a certain extent, what I have done is to like allow my so certain cases where it may come up where someone may say, okay, there's this little thing happening. Would you like to like read this thing here or whatever it may be, and just say like, yeah, okay, fine. And a while back, I tried out Toastmasters. I, but this is quite a while back. I don't even know if they're still, they should still be in the country. But
Yes,
yeah,
they're still in the
I
country.
think Toastmasters is a really nice route to just find a group and join. Hopefully, one is close by, and yeah, that's a really nice way to get that support and get that experience going as a leader, as someone who can coordinate. Yeah, just in general, it's just a great way to get experience in public speaking and leading.
You said Toastmasters, but let's say I don't really know what that is, like where do they meet? What do they do exactly?
That's the thing right there. I kind of fell out of touch with it, but Toastmasters is like this international organization, and it has chapters in different countries. And what they do is, within a chapter, you have people coming together, and you people speak in front of each other. That's uh, that's really the shortest, most succinct way I can put it. You come and as time goes on, you watch others go up to speak, and then eventually, as you get into the system more and more, you can ask. Once you join in, you can ask and say, "Okay, I want to speak at this time," and you prepare your little thing, and you go up and you present it to them. They give you feedback, and you move from "Oh, I'm using notes at this point" to until you can get to the point where like, oh no, I can speak or totally impromptu, just get called upon and go up and speak on whatever it may be. I've seen it work.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, I've seen it work as well. I've never gone up and speak at Toastmasters, but I've been there a couple times. They also give advice on how you can use better word, language, and phrases, to captivate the audience. So yeah, they're pretty good. They still operate in Jamaica. it seems like they haven't updated the website, but a friend of mine recently actually flew from Jamaica to US to go to a Toastmaster conference with other people from the local chapter. So they still exist.
Yeah, I think maybe we can find some way to like surface this for others because it's such a good resource. I the last time I kind of looked for Toastmasters chapters out here, I think Sagicor has a chapter. So maybe that's somewhere to start. But yeah, this is we just kind of have to try and make this thing more out there because many people have no idea what a Toastmaster is. The only reason why I got to know about it was because I was in the library one day quite a while back and I saw this group come in and people start presenting and so on and I was curious about it and I went up and asked and yeah, that's how we got started.
Interesting. You just went up to them and asked. Sounds like you were confident before, because dealing with strangers is kind of scary.
Well, they speak a lot about what they do and so on. So it was a case of I was there reading and they just come in and it was kind of late in the evening. But that's when they have their thing set and they do their intros and all of that. And I was kind of there listening in and like, oh, so that's kind of what this thing is going on. And yeah, after they were done, I moved it up to one of them and asked for a bit more information. So yeah, that was a one-on-one thing. But their thing is to really get public is more to emphasize public speaking and leadership. So they have tracks and docs and everything on that. But the actual one-to-one thing, I guess you have to really put yourself out there in the first place.
All right, so something important out that you all know is that most big corporate Jamaica companies, the Digicel, the NCVs, the Sajscore, they have a Toastmasters group. So if you're employed to any of those big companies, you can definitely just I think you should get in your email or you can ask somebody in the company about it. Aside from Toastmasters, we also have Rotaract, which, they are an international foundation, I think, yeah, as well. And, they have many different Rotaract groups in Jamaica. There's one, yeah, Ligonite Rotaract group of Ligonite Plains, New Kingston, I believe, as well. One for Portmore. I don't think I've heard about one for Spanish Town, but, they're all over Jamaica. And it really helps you because I think one part of their model is to kind of mold leaders. Yeah. Mold you into the leaders of tomorrow. So I think definitely, oh, Zoe here saying St. Angela. Definitely find a club you can join. Um, and the confidence that you're missing, they might just help you get it. All right. Next up is us, the community. The community allows you to demo any project that you've worked on. So recently we had a spectacular presentation demo day by Michael Bart. He Jamaican parents, but he lives in Canada. He's lived in Canada most of his life. I remember back when I first saw him reach out to us, he wanted to talk about his app, Granny Say, and I directed him what he needs, what he would need for a presentation, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he did his presentation quite well. So you can go on YouTube. I'll share the link in our chat here. And you can also check out his app, Granny Say, for, those of you. All right. So we have our demo days. Yeah, as you know, the community is kind of like this one big resource to help you get, better at networking, job hunt, all sorts of stuff. And, we have our upcoming JAD Connect physical meet, what I mentioned before, only about 23 slots left though. So if you have a friend that you want to bring, definitely tell them to sign up from now. And that's gonna be next week, Friday. All right. I think at this point we've covered everything, right? From portfolios to networking events. I even touched on confidence. Who knew? Who knew we did see that come up? So I'll just do a quick run through. Have a great LinkedIn, and not just LinkedIn though. I've seen jobs posted on Twitter, right? I think right now Elon's working on this section of Twitter where you can apply for jobs. I remember somebody sharing that with me once. Yes, I've seen jobs posted on Twitter, and some persons they just reply, they get the job. There are, job groups out there as well. There's the job checkup group on Telegram, right? About 2,000 members at this point. They post jobs in there often. There's also the job checkup website itself where you can go on. Let me see if I can bring that up for you. So there's the Telegram group. There's the website you can go on. I've seen at least 2 WhatsApp groups where they just post jobs in them every now and then. There's groups where people just talk, like the Aki Circle or Jaya, and they post jobs in there at times. I think the last thing I saw from a very popular person in the group was something about we pay hiring, right? So the thing is, what I'm trying to say to you is that jobs can be found in even some unexpected places. WhatsApp groups that you're in, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, of course, because LinkedIn is one thing. Even Instagram. I think there's some Instagram pages that's dedicated like posting jobs. Right? And of course, there are other job websites out there. I think somebody mentioned Indeed in the chat. Right? So going to certain places to find jobs, having a great portfolio, networking, building up the confidence so you can, leave the house and network in the first place. I think we've covered essentially everything that you would need. And of course, early in the early in the call, Jason mentioned he did like 200 applications, which is insane. Don't give up. Definitely just have it in your mind that okay, this is gonna be this is gonna be tough to do. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna send an application. Oh, one piece of advice I would give you is that don't just send out a general resume to every company. Try and have I call it a specialized resume. So if I see where they're looking for a Flutter developer, and make sure push up and highlight, my Flutter certificate here, some Flutter apps that I built, and just make it more Flutter specialized. I think that's where I see some people going wrong. O'Shane mentioned that you should not put a picture on your resume. You will be profiled. It's life, people be people. As for the best resume format, UE has a default format that I see that's really effective. Somebody mentioned that the UE format is actually similar to one recommended by some big university in the US. UE, oh, I'm so sorry, UE resume format. So yeah, make sure your resume is good, your portfolio is good, your GitHub, which Andrew mentioned earlier. You want to make sure it's in a great standing. I think I saw O'Shane mention where he contributed to open source projects. I'll share this link in our chat as well. So you can go to our chat and there we go. Go to our chat and look at various links. The whole contributing to open source project, the story of Joel Dean, he did mention that he contributed to open source as well. That's how he got his job at Automatic, which is really interesting. All right. Is there anything anybody would like to bring up that I haven't mentioned? The floor is completely open.
Yes, the interview process, because it's all well and good to find that job and then apply and get shortlisted, but then you have this nerve-wracking thing where you have to be ready to say, all right, no, you're gonna talk about yourself. No, you need to actually sell yourself to the person who is hiring you. And yeah, I have always found that part to be really, I guess, nerve-wracking.
Is there anybody in here that has experience or you've gotten really good at, selling what you bring to the company?
I think for the interview process, it's good to look up your interviewer. So the person who will interview, you can look at their LinkedIn and like find a common line. So maybe you guys went to the same high school, university, some kind of common thing that you guys have, so that when the interview starts, I mean, he's gonna ask the basic questions, but you can also bring that up and like connect in that way. Because it's nice to have like not think of it like an interview, but more like a conversation, and like always like know about current affairs and everything about the company so you can correlate what's going on and how you can like bring your expertise to the company to fix any issues that they have.
That's some good advice. Let me write that down somewhere. Does anybody else wanna share?
Um, I mean, it was well said. I think that covers a lot. The only thing is, it kind of goes back to the old being nervous in the interview. Again, it's not really about confidence, but it's just trying to, when you're going in, try to be, yourself. Try to be very relaxed to a point where, look, it's it's some people might say like an interview feels like a life and death judgment type of thing. But at the end of the day, look, if it works out, it works out. But you just try to be as comfortable to have a simple conversation, because it's literally you're just talking about yourself and what you can do. And and uh, um i- over time, like, try to just practice how to talk about yourself, things that you do, so that it's easier to be a salesperson for yourself as well as a marketer for yourself. So if someone say, hey, random say, hey, what do you do? And you say, I'm a software dev. It's better you say, oh, I'm a solution architect. You build a solution for companies and people who have unique problems. So try to phrase like words or what you do in like a value proposition um way, so that you don't give like a bland answer like, oh, you software dev, you build mobile apps. That doesn't really give confidence or value proposition. So, be confident in what you truly do, which is, you know, solutions, providing value. And the one last thing which I find very annoying, um, is this age-old question that they tend to ask, why should we hire you? A lot of people have problems answering that question. And to me, of course, it's a kind of stupid question, but it's a trick question at the same time. So for me, what I do is, I kind of twist that my answer, in the sense that it's not a matter of why they should hire me. It's more towards why I should be hired by you, meaning that, what I mean by that is that I kind of show confidence that, regardless of which company I'm going in, I have the confidence that I will be productive, add value to their company, and so forth. So is there a quality working environment that I could strive to make their company better and holistically myself. So I kind of answer it with that twist to throw back the question to them while providing some amount of confidence that, I'll be successful and they will be successful because at the end of the day, like employee employer relationship, it works hand in hand because a company cannot be successful without quality workers, and of course workers cannot do quality jobs if the working environment is poor.
All right. Yeah, definitely I agree. I think it's good to just be resourceful overall, right? Like before you go in that interview, some persons recommend doing a mock interview. So if you know somebody who can, one, of course, review your resume, or what I see some persons do that they just push your resume in a group like the Aki Circle, and then the people review it, give their pros and cons, and then they say, okay, you're good to go now. Somebody could practice interviewing with you. You could do some research on the company, right? Some research on the company. I think somebody mentioned researching the individuals that may interview you or just some individuals who work there. And just be well resourced. There's also a website you can check that will give you an idea on like salary ranges and stuff. So the more you know, the more prepared you are, the better you can really get that job in a sense. So in wrapping up, I want to hear if does anybody have any final thoughts?
I have a question. I had once this interview that was a bit weird. Because one of the questions that they made was about reading books. They asked me what was the latest book of software development that I read, and I was like, what can I say? I don't even read books around .NET or something like that, and yeah, it's not usual. And they were like, it's necessary for you to read all of that, but all of the information I usually got is from the internet, from tutorials and videos, uh, yeah, even community websites. Um, that was a bit weird, to be honest, for me. Um, the rest of the interview was pretty awkward because they asked me why I wrote down in the resume that I know JavaScript, for example. JavaScript is a language, and they say, why don't you write TypeScript instead of that one? And I was like, uh, yeah, it's because this one and that one. I made like an answer. I elaborate on an answer for that, but they say like, no, they don't want that. I was like, okay. um, yeah, it was like my worst interview that I had. The best one, my best interview was because I was desperate to looking for a job, and I went to this platform. I think it's Meetup. Yeah, Meetup. There was like an institute. There was this institute called Homeland, and they were posting like tips and tricks and all of the uh, presentation and events around um, preparing your hiring process, like from the scratch, like starting from the resume, all of the things. And I was like taking notes on all of the stuff. Then I look up for that company. I did I did a research, and they were posting a job. So I decided to apply for that job. and I used all of that information from Holmesland. It was so helpful. The interview was good. It was pretty straightforward because they asked me the same questions that I prepared, the same question um that they told us to learn in that event from Meetup. And I was like, great, I have everything here. So I got that job. I was working with them like for 3 months or something like that until the contract was finished. But it was a good experience.
Thank you for sharing. I mean, that's definitely interesting. So what you said actually made me start to wonder, like for those of you, well, those of you who are willing to share that is, what's the weirdest interview question or experience you ever heard of or had?
Okay, and I'll this one. The weirdest interview experience I've ever had was with a technical person, and the role I believe was for Vue.js. No, it was for React.js. But they didn't ask any React questions because they said that it's all JavaScript. So whether it's React or Vue, it doesn't really matter since it's JavaScript. Then they proceeded to ask me questions about what port is SSH on, etc. Some deeply technical questions. The problem was that they didn't even know the answer. So after they asked me the question, they had to research and find the answer to tell me whether I was wrong or right. That was very weird because I would assume that they had some answer sheet. But no, he'd ask me a question and then ask for some time to find the answer. And then if my answer was wrong, he'd say, "Oh, I got it wrong," and then tell me what the right answer was. And if my answer was right, he'd say, "Okay, looks like your answer is right. Let's move on." So that was very strange. And I didn't get that job either.
Wow, SSH ports. Why? What does that have to do with it? Anyway, does anybody else would like to share like where this interview question?
I think from one of the interviews I did, basically they said that I should write why I want to work here in 50 words in like 3 minutes. So that was, I never really expected that, but I think they were just seeing how I work under pressure or something.
Hmm.
Oh, I said I know already, which is the similar to what Joe said, the why I should work here, but that was verbally. Writing it down, that's even weirder than just simple asking. But yeah.
Uh, yeah, there could be a whole session on word interviews and word interview questions. Regardless, though, we do need to wrap things up. So I'd like to hear your final thoughts, about how we can get jobs in this economy. So anybody who wants to go ahead first can just unmute and go ahead.
So, what I way I think of it, just kind of summarizing my general thoughts on it is find those jobs and but before finding them, kind of get that confidence thing going. Check out Toastmasters, or I don't remember what the other one is. I'm not familiar with it, but get that confidence going, find a job, and once you get a resume in, start prepping for that interview. And I guess another thing I could add to is I don't know if that happens out here, but one thing that I experience is that some interviewers have these set technical questions that they may ask, well, of course, for a technical role. stuff like kinds of algorithms and all of that. So sometimes you kind of have to find certain resources and just swap them in preparation for that interview.
All right. It's been great. A lot of interesting segues were covered. So, for those of you who don't know, well, I actually did mention it earlier. Our next event is a physical one. We're gonna host a Uno tournament, and we're gonna network with each other. Who knows? Your future coworker or your future employer might be there. So I'm looking forward to seeing that on Friday of next week. And if you're not following us currently, you can follow us on social media at JamDevCo. All right. Thanks for joining and see you next time.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
This was great. Thank you.